Hello my friends and welcome to a new video. Today a review of a foldable rig, the GT Omega Sprint. So when it comes to the design, well, you know the drill. It's a foldable seat, so it looks like a beach chair. And as usual, like all the other foldable solutions out there, it's black with some red marking from the logo, GT Omega logo in it. But well, it is a very boring and sober design. The configuration of the pedals is a system we start to see with more and more hardware manufacturers. You get two longer holder bars on which two plates are attached that can slide over the length of these bars. This system makes it very easy to attach even a bit more exotic pedal bases. A downside of this system is that you will need to have pedals with a pedal plate or heel plate in order to be able to rest your foot. The structure can also be inclined upwards for around 15 degrees. There is a shifter holder that can be mounted in two different positions, and it can be further fine-tuned by sliding it over the length of the large extrusion slots. The angle of the seat can be angled by shortening the distance of the two holders that connect the feet of the seating area. Further adjustments like the firmness of the hammer can be accomplished by adjusting the Velcro straps. The configuration of both the angle of the seat and pedals is not on the fly, meaning that this is not really suitable for multiple people of different lengths to use this sim rig. The configuration for the wheelbase holder is something which GT Omega really thought about. It is a system that I have never seen before with any other foldable sim rigs out there. What makes it so special is that you can move it in three different dimensions. You can move it up and down for about 10 centimeters. You can slide it back and forwards for about 5 centimeters, and you can tilt it in an angle that suits you best. Why is this so important? Well, because of the wheelbase holder is one of those reasons. The wheelbases themselves, well, they come in very different sizes and shapes. I have here a very low profile, the Camo C12, but of course the steering wheel here comes a lot lower than you have with the Fanatec CSL DD, which comes a lot higher. Also, well, we are not all the same size, so it is very handy that you can just lower the wheelbase a bit to your needs. I really think that the configuration for the Sprint is one of the best configurations that I have tested so far for the wheelbase holder. What does make it a bit more difficult is that when you configure the wheelbase holder, that it is almost impossible to get it really leveled out. Because when you put the wheelbase on it, it pushes down, and yeah, well, you have to hold it, you have to balance it a bit and then lock it into place. And there are no real markings on the bars here where you can see how high it is. So that is a bit of a downside of this configuration. When it comes to the build quality, there are also a few remarks. Starting with the pedal base holder, GT Omega opted to use square tubes as cross members to attach the pedals to. In the case of my Fanatec CSL pedals, it was already quite a challenge to attach them with the bolts that GT Omega provided, because the extrusions to attach the pedals are quite deep under the pedal plate. This design is also prone to bending the tubular tubes when you over tighten it. It does, however, provide the pedal holder with extra structural integrity and decreases the flexing of the pedal holder. The attachment of the two plates between the legs of the seat are also, questionable. The bolt provided is, in my opinion, too large and can easily wobble when not under pressure. While I didn't notice issues when in use, I find the used mechanism to be very sloppy and a possible point of failure when used in the long term. Sturdiness is always an issue with these foldable rigs, and there also GT Omega thought about it and made some improvements in how it works. With these foldable rigs, it is important that you can get in and out of it, and for this reason you normally have a clap system like this that you can open up, get in the rig and clap it closed again. Now here, most of the times there is a lot of play on the hinge part. There is a millimeter or two which makes it move the wheelbase holder bar here quite a lot. Now GT Omega, they applied on both sides a wing bolt that you can really clamp on it, and that really makes the inner bar stuck into the outer bar, and I think it is a real effective system. A last thing that I would want to add for build quality is the anodizing and general assembly. The anodizing doesn't hold well during configuration because it is simply so thin and vulnerable. This makes a sim rig very susceptible to scratches and dings. The welding on certain parts is also very sloppy. These two things, however, do not affect the general sturdiness of the seat. So how does the GT Omega Sprint drive? First thing that you notice is that it is a very comfortable fabric that they used. Very soft, and what I especially like about it is that they didn't forget for ventilation, so they added the gas in the middle of the back to have some cooling for your back itself, to sweat less. As always, a very good to have, especially when it gets warmer now outside. The other thing that I want to mention is that the backrest is also, I think, less inclined than you have with the Playseat Challenge. That was an issue that came back with the Playseat Challenge, that the angle, it was a bit too steep, and that people were pushed a bit forwards with their head, and that it was not that comfortable to sit in. Now for this one, it does have a lot less inclination for this back, and it will allow you also to use VR headsets when you drive. I have to say that it holds itself also very well when driving. I mounted the C12, the Camera C12 on it at this moment. It's the first time that I really have the C12 at the height that I want with a foldable rig, because of the innovations that they did. And not only that, it also feels very stable, the steering wheel on this Sprint. The pedals also, they feel very well secured. The only thing, and this is the same with all the foldable rigs, if you brake heavy, you will lift up the entire rig, because of course you have the clapping mechanism, the folding mechanism, and that is simply for the sturdiness while braking, it's no good. Of course, like I said, this is with every foldable sim rig the same issue, and I think it is something that you really can't avoid unless you go modify it and sacrifice a bit of the foldability. As said, the amount of flex on the pedal plates is minimal due to the very strong square tubing used to fix the pedals on. However, there is some wobbling visible due to the feet of the pedal base not being completely flat against the floor. This can be an issue if the ground is not even, or if there is simply an issue with the frame being slightly bent. It could easily be fixed by adding some small adjustable feet to the structure. The flex of the wheelbase holder is very minimal thanks to the clamps. As always, some flex is noticeable, but this is the least flexing I have seen in any foldable rig. In fact, I would say that most of the movement is caused by the braking and lifting of the structure. I think that this wheelbase holder can easily handle 12 Nm of force feedback load without much effort. So for features, there is attachment material for your hardware, there is cable binders with it, there is a little pouch on the back, which I think is really genius to add, and of course there is the foldability of the sim rig. Folding the Sprint is not as fast and easy as other foldable rigs I have tested, but it still can be considered relatively fast. A remark that I have for the folding mechanism is that the connectors between the legs should have a little plate on the top to make sure the folding part only folds downwards and not upwards. Another thing to mention would be that GT Omega added some wheels to this seat. The placement of these wheels, unlike the wheels on other foldable rigs I tested, are placed correctly as to not interfere with storing the structure against the wall. A last thing to add would be that it also comes with a shifter holder. When we look at the dimension of the Sprint, it is a bit of a larger sim rig when it is folded out, 155 cm in length, 67 cm in width, 77 cm with the shifter holder attached, and then 102 cm in height. When it is folded in, I had it folded in and it was 88 cm in depth. by 122 centimeters in height. Now, I have to say that my pedals were placed in such a way that they would not fit right under a beam or not just over a beam. If you are a bit taller than me or a bit shorter than me, then you can still get 23 centimeters less depth, which would bring it to 65 centimeters in depth, and yeah, a bit higher also, I would say 130 centimeters in height. Pricing and availability: at this moment it is available for €207 in the GT Omega webshop, and normally the MSRP is €230. The GT Omega is only available at this moment via their webshop, and they ship across the entire world. For foldable cockpits, for a long time you had to compromise, and one of the compromises was that it just was not as sturdy and stable as a fixed rig is, a tubular extrusion rig. But with this concept, I think GT Omega has made it clear that even if you don't have a lot of space, that you still can have a very sturdy rig to race with. So I am quite impressed with the sturdiness of this all, configurability of it all. So for that, I would say job well done for GT Omega. While the GT Omega Sprint is already a big leap in the direction of creating the ultimate foldable rig, there are still quite a lot of remarks that need to be addressed. Remarks that it looks boring or that the paint is not top are annoying and can be considered very subjective. But the more serious issues like the folding arms, the sloppy finishing or unbalanced pedal plate are more serious issues that GT Omega will need to address in a possible V2 of the Sprint. I also usually don't comment that much on the price, as this is once more very subjective, but I will this time. The prices of foldable rigs have gone north of €200 for some time now. This trend, started by Playseat, makes the foldable Simmix unnecessarily expensive and less attainable by people on a budget. In the past, GT Omega has been more than reasonable with pricing. Their R series was my preferred tubular frame and in many ways could be compared a lot with the Sprint. But where the price of the art, even with its rough aesthetics, was fantastic bang buck, I wouldn't dare to say the same for the Sprint. Or at least not at this moment. Thank you all for watching. I hope you had something from this video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more videos, and I will see you all next video. Bye bye.